everyone can see the intro slide on our PowerPoint here. We're going to go ahead and get rolling. Good morning, everyone. My name is BreeAnna Erickson. If I get a little distracted while I'm talking, I'm kind of single-handedly monitoring the waiting room. We have a great group this morning. Thank you for joining us today. I want to welcome you to the BEC session. And our topic today is hospitality and tourism workforce. And again, my name is BreeAnna Erickson. I'm the president and CEO of the Alaska Safety Alliance and the Alaska Workforce Alliance. If you did not know, these BEC meetings are being recorded, and the recording is posted on our website. Also, a link is distributed in our post-meeting email. We'll send the recording link along with any announcements from our BEC members in our post-meeting email. So if you have any events or announcements you'd like to share with our listserv, please go ahead and submit those. The link is in the chat. And there's a form on our webpage if you don't grab it out of the chat just now. Got a couple more folks here I'm going to add into the meeting. Be sure that you are on the BEC list and you get the notifications about the next upcoming topics and reminders to join the meeting. And it's helpful, again, if you just joined the room, if we can see what your organization is, if you could add that to your name, that would be really helpful. So let's start this morning with a safety moment. Does anybody have a safety moment that they would like to share? Just go ahead and unmute. All right, I don't see any takers, so I guess I will take this one. We just recently went through the change in time, so we're back to having a little bit darker mornings again, which is always a little disappointing in the spring, but it's a good time just to remember that school is still in session. It's dark again in the morning. Be really cautious with those school buses, and I know we get a little excited when it's spring. Drive a little faster, the roads are nice and dry, but let's just be cautious out there in the mornings, make sure everybody gets to work and to school safely each day. Anyone else like to join on that? Usually I can count on Dave for a safety minute.
Watch out for the gravel. That's about all we have on the roads.
Yeah, lots of gravel, that's right. I'm sorry, I heard someone else, but I didn't catch.
Yeah, it's Jody here.
Hey, Jody.
Just wanted to remind people when they're running in the morning, make sure they're wearing reflective clothing as to avoid being run over.
That's right. Yes. See lots of runners and walkers, people out walking their dogs and things too in the morning. That's really helpful. It's always surprises me as an Alaskan how many people are out in all purely black in the morning. Just think it should be intuitive that we need to be able to see you. So we have a great lineup of panelists this morning to discuss topics that impact training and workforce for Alaska's hospitality and tourism industries. This industry plays a vital role in our state's economy, employing an average of over 36,000 people. An estimated 2.7 million out-of-state visitors traveled to Alaska during the summer season of 2024, which was up 2% from the previous year. These visitors contribute billions of dollars annually to our state's economy, supporting infrastructure and communities across urban and rural Alaska. As this industry, like many, faces ongoing workforce challenges, from seasonal employment demands to recruitment, training, and retention of skilled workers, it is essential to bring together training providers, employers, policymakers, and workforce stakeholders to ensure we have a strong, prepared workforce that meets the evolving needs. Pause a second here. Sorry, well, I let a couple more people in. We are very glad to welcome our panelists this morning. Thank you all for participating in the discussion today. And I'd like to invite Steph Johnson, our moderator, to introduce herself. And Steph will call on our panelists to do a round of introductions before kicking off the panel discussion.
All right, thank you, BreeAnna. My name is Steph Johnson. I am an independent consultant that does restaurant and hospitality consulting. Like many people in the restaurant and hospitality industry, I started at the ripe old age of 15, cleaning toilets and begging to be trained on how to be a barista. and fell in love with the industry. I worked in restaurant management for 30 years before becoming a consultant. And now I also have the pleasure of being an adjunct professor at the University of Alaska Anchorage Culinary Department, teaching Intro to Culinary, which is an introduction course to the hospitality industry, where I get to share with students all of the different ways that they can craft a career within the industry and to find jobs or create jobs that match their personal life goals. Up next, I'd love to introduce Kirsten Dolan from Alaska CHARR.
Let me go get my phone real quick. Let me look at reschedule.
Okay, we're going to come back to Kirsten.
Yeah, hang on. I'm ready now.
So you're ready.
I started
You're ready
talking and realized that I was muted. My name is Kirsten Dolan, and I serve as the Events and Marketing Director for Alaska CHARR. I have the pleasure of organizing many of our key events, including the She Strength Heart Excellence Leadership Training Conference, our Selman Memorial Golf Tournament, our annual convention, and the Advocacy Plate. I also manage our magazine, newsletter, and website, ensuring that our industry stays connected and informed.
Thank you, Kirsten.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have BreeAnna Erickson, also from Alaska CHARR.
Thank you so much, Steph. My name is BreeAnna Erickson. I'm with Alaska CHARR. I'm the Operations and Workforce Development Director. I actually started in the hospitality industry probably when, child labor law should have been enforced. So I was always folding laundry at our family-owned hotel in northern Minnesota. And then I, waited tables through college and worked night shifts at a hotel. So I've always been in the hospitality industry. And then when I moved up to Alaska, I was in workforce development for the construction trades for the laborers union. And then kind of rolled into workforce for the hospitality industry. So that's where I am today. And I run the educational fund, and I do a whole bunch of different partnerships with different community-based organizations and our national organization, our National Restaurant Association as well. That's what I do. And I believe our president and CEO did come on, so I think I saw her name.
Yeah, Sarah, we've got Sarah Oates Harlow here.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Oates Harlow, President and CEO of Alaska CHARR. Just bear with me a little bit. I've been battling pneumonia for a couple of weeks, so I'll be on and off camera and microphone. I've been with Alaska CHARR since 2018. I've been working in, with, and for the hospitality industry for over 20 years now. Immediately prior to this job, I worked for the state of Alaska for about 10 years, most of that with the Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office. So I've been a regulator. I've worked managing restaurants and bars. I've served tables, I've bartended, I've done all things hospitality, other than owning an actual business. And I also serve as the chair of the Council of State Restaurant Associations, and I serve as a trustee of the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here, Sarah. We really appreciate it, especially knowing how under the weather you've been. Next up, we have Mary Jo Finney, also of the University of Alaska.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. I am Dean of the Graduate School at University of Alaska Anchorage, and I've been in Alaska for coming up on 5 years. I absolutely adore the state. I actually started in hospitality. I worked for the Westin Hotels through high school and through college, and that was my first major in my undergraduate degree. Was a reservationist way back when they were just starting to, as you can imagine, computerize reservations. And I worked in catering and front desk, and so it's a fantastic field. I love it, and but I moved into academia, and so I spent 22 years at University of Michigan Flint. My field is education, urban education, but I'm here to talk a little bit about when the time comes, about how UAA can support hospitality and tourism in our state.
Thank you, Mary Jo. And last up, but certainly not least, we have Jeff Samuels from the Alaska Travel Industry Association.
Good morning, Steph. Thank you for the invitation to participate this morning. We really appreciate it. I'm Jeff Samuels. I'm the Director of Policy and Communications for the Alaska Travel Industry Association. And I'll talk a little bit more about ATIA in just a moment, but my personal history, I came to the state in my early 20s. I have worked in hospitality for part of my life, was a line cook and dishwasher at times through my 20s. And then I ended up getting a job with a tourism lodge here in Cooper Landing. And have worked my way up through that organization, and then went and worked for some other places where workforce development was a key component. I worked at Job Corps briefly. I've also worked for the Student Conservation Association, helping set up youth crews that were operating around the state on public lands. I've been on the Serve Alaska board, promoting volunteerism and supporting AmeriCorps programming in the state. And I currently focus on communications and policy. So bills in Juneau that might affect our industry, and also bills in Washington, D.C. that might affect our industry too. So tracking a lot of legislation is sort of what I do. I always have a third screen on for KTOO and Gavel. So I'm watching the whole session pretty much every day and keeping track of what's happening in Juneau. So pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We do expect if there's any breaking news, it'll come straight from you. So before we get started here, I was hoping that for all of our listeners, if you could please in the chat, just type in if you've worked in the tourism or hospitality industries. Maybe you could just put me or line cook or whatever your job was. One of the things that makes tourism and hospitality such a dynamic and interesting industry, in my opinion, is that we are working with people all across the spectrum of experiences, backgrounds, education, even where they come from. We have people that are career professionals that are working alongside 16-year-olds, and it's their first job, and they're learning how to do things like show up on time. So it's an exciting environment because of that. It can also be challenging because of that. And yes, I love how this chat is popping up and overflowing with all of these different positions. Yep, love it. Dishwasher to line cook. Yep, that's the way to do it. The thing that is really challenging and interesting about our industry is that when I say our industry, and I'm referring to tourism and hospitality, I'm actually talking about a lot of different sectors even within that. So how those individual businesses may face and deal with workforce development can be pretty broad and wide-ranging there as well. Some of the things that I also love about this industry is that it's a place that you can come and be in for a little while or for your whole life. There are opportunities at each end of the spectrum. It's also a place that you can come back to easily. And for someone who has working experience and knows how to get along with people, you can always find a job in tourism and hospitality. We always welcome people back. So it's an industry that is also really welcoming and useful for our new residents that come to the state. Perhaps people have moved here, their spouse may have landed a job here and they're not sure what they're going to do. We can often be a first place for people to come or a place for people to stay. That being said, some of our challenges for workforce development are pretty large. And since COVID, we have seen a lot of varying experiences in our industries and how we respond to trying to get people ready to work in these industries and to keep these jobs filled. So with that, we'll jump into our questions. Our first question is going to be for Kirsten and Jeff. And that is, in your view, what are the most pressing workforce challenges or the biggest gaps facing hospitality and tourism? And Kirsten, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. In my opinion, the hospitality industry is currently facing several pressing challenges, with two of the most significant being workforce shortages and the rising costs of doing business. In the workforce shortage area and hiring challenges, many businesses are struggling to fill open positions, especially in skilled roles, and there's a growing need for well-trained professionals who can enter the industry and build long-term careers. Increased costs for goods, wages, utilities, and regulatory compliance make it more difficult for businesses to remain profitable while maintaining high quality service. At Alaska CHARR, we recognize those challenges and are working to provide solutions, especially through BreeAnna and our Alaska CHARR Educational Fund. She has programs that support workforce development by offering apprenticeships, training, and educational resources that help attract and retain talent in the hospitality industry. So by investing in that training and career pathways, we aim to strengthen the industry and ensure businesses have the skilled workforce that they need to thrive.
Thank you, BreeAnna. And Jeff, I'll put that question to you as well. What do you feel like are the most pressing workforce challenges that we're currently facing?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Just a couple of sentences real quick about ATIA and what we do. But the Alaska Travel Industry Association is the trade association for the tourism sector in the state. We have over 600 member businesses. And to elaborate on those numbers, those workforce numbers that Carrie-Ann shared in the beginning, we have a large part of our workforce does come from Alaska. Also, a large part comes from the lower 48, as I did when I first came up here. And then we have about 2,000 J1 foreign student workers that come from overseas each year too. That's been a pretty consistent number, except for 2020 and 2021. I think there was a dip during those 2 years, but for the most part, it's been about 2,000 folks. So that's about 5% of our workforce. I just wanted to sort of throw that out there. I know that people wonder where the workforce comes from, and that's sort of how it breaks out, at least internationally. But the things that we keep hearing about are housing, for sure. Housing costs, housing availability is a challenge for the workforce. Part of what makes Alaskans appealing to hire in any industry is that we often have a place to stay, and we don't need to, an employer doesn't need to find housing for folks if they already live in the state and live in the community. I think what I've often heard from other sectors sort of broadly across the state is the three-legged stool of childcare, training, and housing, right? So I'm sure that you've probably all talked about that quite a bit, but it's something we talk about in our meetings too. In particular, I was in a meeting in Nome a year and a half ago, I think, as they were talking about the influx of money that was going to come in to develop the Port of Nome. The local community in that area, the Norton Sound area, really wants to benefit from the jobs that will come from this high-paying influx of jobs and money, but they don't have a place for folks to stay. If they travel in from one of the outlying communities into Nome, they don't have housing in Nome. They don't have childcare, either back in the village or in Nome if they come and work for 2 weeks. And it's hard to get training out there. It's hard for agencies organizations like Northern Alaska Industrial, or NIT or other organizations to come and travel out to communities like that to provide training for folks. So I think that those are sort of challenges that lie across the state. In our sector, in tourism, the seasonality of the work that we do, we open in May usually, and we close in September for the busy summer season. Finding folks that can stay for that full time is hard. So we offer, a lot of our businesses offer incentives to folks who can stick around from opening day to closing day. Those are sort of the biggies that we encounter. So housing is a big deal, seasonality is a big deal. And I think just that full trifecta of housing, childcare, and training are challenges for the state.
Thank you, Jeff. Mm-hmm. And for any of our other panelists, if there's anything that you want to add in, please just pop a note into the chat, and we'll try and keep track of that and shoot it over to you. So in response to some of those challenges, my next question is for BreeAnna and Mary Jo. How has the hospitality and tourism industry evolved in response to the biggest gaps evolved in response to workplace shortages, and what trends are emerging? Mary Jo, we'll start with you this time.
Oh, thank you. So, as I thought about an answer to this question, really what I can speak to more are trends. And I want to just start by indicating why would the Dean of Graduate Programs be at this particular session. I do attend these meetings. I love BEC. I think it's just incredibly informative. But from an educational standpoint, education is a little different than training. And one of the trends that I've seen I talk with a lot of students, a lot of prospective students who want to get into a career. They want to change the career that they're in. So they come to me and say, you know what, how can I change careers? And one of the degrees that I oversee in my office is a master's degree in interdisciplinary studies. And basically, that is a degree that the student designs for him or herself. It's not a degree that already exists. It's one that they design. So a couple of years ago, we had some faculty at UAA who came together and said, you know, we really need a focus on Alaska tourism and like our whole cultural heritage. There's so many students who either are new to Alaska or are born and raised in Alaska. They want to understand and deepen their knowledge about what Alaska is about, what it has to offer, how we can take full advantage of the wonderful resources that are here. So they designed an interdisciplinary degree in Alaska tourism and cultural heritage. And this is faculty from history and business and Alaska Native Studies, and English. There were a variety of individuals who came to the table. And the idea was that we could create a program that would be very responsive to Alaska in particular. So we hosted a meeting and invited lots of hospitality professionals, museum workers, curators, anthropologists working in the field, cultural resource managers, policy advisors. And we said, what would you want in a workforce? If we were going to design a master's degree, what kinds of skills do you feel are lacking or that you would like to see in a professional in your field? And it was that really that formed the foundation for the program. So while this is, that's one program, but what I see as a trend is that rather than just thinking about attracting a worker and doing on-the-job training, that there's a move towards people wanting a little more than a job. They want a career. And they would like to have it be affordable, of course, and have the three, needs, housing and childcare, but this trend towards a bit of longevity, not sort of a drive-by job, but something that they can really build upon. And that is, I think, a really exciting trend. And it's part of why when I think about, a graduate education, it's a way for someone to have aspirations for what could come next within the field, not leaving the job, but staying in the job. And so I think that's, fruitful territory for all of us to develop and cultivate partnerships, to think about how do we advance the field, keep the workers that we have, and keep elevating their education, knowledge, skills. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mary Jo. That was fascinating. There is such an interesting difference between education and training, or education and experience. And that's something that I think anyone who's working in this industry in particular, that is some of the challenge of how do we meet what the workforce needs? Because if you were to talk to any stressed out hotel or restaurant manager about what they need on a Friday night at 5 o'clock rush, they want the experienced worker, but the educated worker is often the one that can stay with us longer and can help shape and mold from within the staff. So that's great to hear about the interdisciplinary program. It's really interesting. Thank you, Mary Jo. BreeAnna, will put the question to you as well. How do you see the hospitality and tourism industry evolving in response to workplace shortages?
Absolutely. Thank you. And while Mary Jo can speak to trends, I can speak to kind of more of the training aspect of elevating that workforce. And that's really been our whole mission at the Educational Fund. And it's more training for retention purposes, making sure we're elevating that customer service level, making sure we're elevating those managers, and then the owner and business owner part of it as well. So expanding our training to not only the employees and the people who are at the front of the house and the back of the house, but also the ownership and the executive level training as well to help run a smoother business and a more successful business as well. And then strengthening those CTE programs within high schools. So we have a program called Pro Start, which is all about restaurant and hospitality business and management. It goes through, I think, 14 different high schools in Alaska currently. And it's a great thing. I know Steph is familiar with it. So she'd be able to kind of brag about it. It's a lot of fun, but it focuses on those foundational skills that you need to enter into the hospitality industry, whether that's in a restaurant, whether that's in some lodge in interior Alaska, or whether that's in a hotel. And then something else that we've been doing is different partnerships with community-based organizations and utilizing those connections as well, and closing, similar to what Mary Jo said earlier, closing that dead-end job mindset on the hospitality industry and realizing that there is an infinite possibility and infinite avenues of career and success within the hospitality industry. So that's what I have.
BreeAnna. One of my proudest moments when I was the general manager of a restaurant, we had a very large contingency of West High students that would come and get pizza by the slice. And it was this crazy little rush of energy that you either got no one or you got everyone, because they all came together in one car. And, we hardly made any money on it. And it was chaotic and stressful because it was always right before we were ready to open the restaurant. And many times I remember in meetings, we would say, is this really worth it? And then the last executive chef that I hired there said, I've been dying to work here since I came as a West High student and bought my pizza. And I thought,
Wow.
that's it.
Hey, Steph.
Yeah, that's the long-term commitment there.
Right. We did have a couple of questions. I think
Sure.
now would be a good time to just kind of jump in there. Yeah. So the first one was from Bert Lord, and he says, I assume tourism depends on hiring students and 15 years old and above. And how is the industry approaching this demographic to offer jobs to our students? So good segue from your West High story.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Bert. I'm going to throw that one to Jeff to start, and any of our other panelists that want to jump in.
Sure, I can jump in. Just last week, I went to King Tech and I talked to the Alaska Railroad Tour Guide training class. I've done that every year for the last few years. And I talked to them about alternatives to the Alaska Railroad. Some of those kids might get picked up by the railroad to be tour guides on the local train service out of Anchorage and out of Fairbanks, but many of them are looking for other opportunities to work in Anchorage or to work in the tourism sector. So I talked to them about other sort of entry-level jobs that they could have either at restaurants or, cleaning RVs at Great Alaskan Holidays, something like that. So we try and approach kids in high school. I try and approach kids in high school from the association side of things. I also know that our member businesses reach out to high schools too and have partnerships in their local communities. I'm most familiar with what's happening here in Anchorage, and in another week and a half, there's another group of folks that's going to be at King Tech talking about job opportunities for the summer for high school age kids there too. So that'll be a broader audience of 100, 150 kids or so at that time. But I know that's happening around the state too.
Great. Thank you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else from our panel like to respond to that question?
Yeah, I'll just kind of touch on the Pro Start program that we have that's already implemented in high schools currently, and it touches that demographic, that teen demographic. And a lot of what we do is employer connection and industry connection. And that's what our foundations director, Chef Rebecca Gaidash-Rugi does. And she connects that teen age group to industry and shows them the different opportunities that there is in the state of Alaska. So whether that's going to Pursuit, Alaska and touring one of their facilities, or whether that's going down to Cisco and touring their facility, that's kind of how we try and connect that age group to the industry.
Thank you very much. Carrie Ann, are there any other questions from the chat we should jump on?
There are a couple of questions, but I think I'm going to hold because they're kind of about legislation, and we have a couple questions that are, we'll ask our scripted questions first, and then we'll jump in with those.
Okay, sounds good. So our next question is going to be, again, for Jeff and BreeAnna. You guys gotta have a lot of work up at the beginning here. And this question is, how can the hospitality sector better engage underutilized populations such as veterans, formerly incarcerated individuals or immigrant communities? And what are some existing partnerships or programs that have successfully integrated underrepresented groups into the industry? And Jeff, we'll start with you this time.
Sure. I can talk about sort of my past history with working with these populations. At Job Corps, we had a group. There was a group that I participated in Anchorage, Job Club, that happened every Thursday morning, I think, and a number of different organizations would get together and talk about opportunities available for recently paroled or recently released people or people that were experiencing homelessness. There was a really good group, a cohort of people, about 20 people, that would get together and talk about opportunities. And I'm not tapped into that network right now. And I would love to say right out of the gate that if there's an opportunity for us to be better connected with those organizations that are offering those types of services for folks, please reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat here, and let's get connected. We'd love to try and share that information with our members. However, I do know that there are a couple of really good examples. The Motley Crew at Beans Cafe is making lunchboxes, and I think Salmonberry is going to start using them this summer. I used them earlier this winter for a group. We had about 25 people come to our office for a lunch, and I ordered lunches from the Motley Crew, and they were fantastic. And those, as I understand, they're recently people that were experiencing homelessness, and they're in the kitchens and preparing food, and they're working under John. Forgetting the chef's name there, but somebody else probably knows his name. But they've got great direction. They're making a great product, and I think that's a good example of trying to get folks back into the workforce. Additionally, we have one lodge operator who gave me an example of working with Matsu Child and Adult Services out in the Valley to work with young people who are people who have autism and are looking for work. And he found a job for one woman out at his lodge, one of his lodges. She's been a hostess at the restaurant for 5 years now, and people love her. She's great. And so there are some organizations out there that are connecting employers with a workforce that will suit their needs and will suit everybody's needs, give the employee a chance to go to work every day and make those connections and make some money, and give the employer a chance to engage locally with people who are looking for work. So those are a couple of examples I have. I know that we have another employer who's reached out with Catholic Social Services to work with their refugee resettlement program. So I have anecdotes here and there. I don't have a broad sweeping partnership, and that's something I'm open to getting information on, so I can share that with our members if that's available.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, and if anyone who is listening in on the call has organizations that we could connect with, please put those in the chat. And Anna, we'll come. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carrie.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in just because there was a related question. Another one from Bert that says that at ASD, they have the school business partnerships, classes in middle schools, career ready and other CTE courses in high school. And they have a summer career fair for students and soon to graduate students. And just puts out the ask if anyone has an interest in going to schools to talk more about their industry and at the same time increase awareness of available jobs. That's something that you can do through ASD.
Thank you, Bert. That's a great suggestion. BreeAnna, now we'll come back to you with the same question. How can the industry better engage underutilized populations?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So the Ed Fund has really expanded in the time that I've been with Alaska CHARR, and we've really developed our mission as far as and vision and hoping to create a more positive societal impact. And with that, we've been able to partner with our national organization, the National Restaurant Association Educational Fund, and we have been able to use their curriculum called Restaurant Ready. And that is a curriculum that rebuilds life skills, essentially, that people may have lost due to incarceration or different life challenges that they've had, or just may not have had the opportunity to develop them because of, homelessness or something like that. And we currently have that program in 2 different places in the state of Alaska. One at the Alaska Addiction Rehabilitation Services Center out, I think they used to call it the ranch out in the valley. And we work with Corbin there, who's the executive director, and we've been able to place 2 different apprentices from that program. So they go through their rehabilitation program, take this course, get all their certification, and we've been able to place them in successful apprenticeships for line cook. And then we also have one in Partners Reentry in Delta. So we also have a Partners Reentry here as well, and they just signed on, so it's a new process. But with that curriculum, it kind of gives the instruction for those life skills building that, you know, people may have lost at some point. And it kind of focuses on at-risk youth. We currently have the Growth Opportunities 5 grant that focuses working with the Covenant House and therapeutic courts to help give that training and that curriculum to that demographic as well. But how the hospitality sector can really be more engaged is reach out to us. Being the State Restaurant Association, we've been able to expand our reach as far as partnerships and networking with these different community-based organizations to tap into those underutilized populations and train them and then place them. But we need to have places to put them. So we definitely want more engagement from our employers. And they can ask questions. I mean, we have regular sessions where our program coordinator, Katrina Duran, will go out and do informational sessions with different employers. But the collaborative groups that I think Jeff was kind of pointing to is like Reentry Coalition. They've just restarted their monthly meetings. And I have a lot of contacts that I've made through them. I think that's where I actually found Corbin from AARS. And then NeighborWorks as well have some great resources that they share during their monthly meetings too, as far as community-based organizations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So many great organizations out there. And that really is, I'm glad that you brought that up, BreeAnna. That really is the challenge, I think, specifically with these industries, is that oftentimes, because things are changing quickly, because business volume is not always able to be anticipated, sometimes employers get stuck in the, I need Mr. or Miss right now, not Mr. or Miss right. And some of these partnerships with these programs do take a commitment to getting to know each other, getting to understand each other, working with these program coordinators so that they understand what the unique challenges and opportunities are within each business, so that people can be placed in businesses that work best with where they may be at any given time. So finding ways to bridge the gap between our actual working industry members and managers and these great organizations that are working to get people ready seems to be an area that we can work on and make more fruitful in the future. Before I jump to the next question, Carrie-Ann, do we have any other questions we should check in on?
No, not this time.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so for our next question, we're going to go to Jeff and Sarah, and we're going to get into a little legislative talk. Ballot Measure 1 increased the minimum wage, required paid sick leave, and prohibits mandatory meetings on religious or political topics. How will this act impact the hospitality and tourism industry? And Sarah, I'll start with you since I've been picking on Jeff a little bit here.
Thank you, Steph. We have done an Alaska Business Impact Survey when Ballot Measure 1 shortly before the election. We have not done a subsequent survey post-election, as Department of Labor is still working on the regulations that will help with implementation of Ballot Measure 1. My understanding is hopefully they will have those regulations, the first draft, coming out either this week or next week. But we are one of 7 states that does not have a tipped wage. So in most states across the country, you can make less than the minimum wage so long as with your tips, it brings your wages up to the minimum wage. We are one of 7 states that does not allow for that. And as a result, a lack of a tipped wage in our state creates inequity between front and back of house when it comes to wages. So back of house employees, cooks and whatnot, have to have a significantly higher wage to offset the considerable amount of tips that servers and bartenders bring in. So when we did our business impact survey late last year, the results reported that 95% of hospitality workers already make $15 an hour or more when you include tips. So obviously with a significant jump in the minimum wage, we're going to see those wages go up considerably. When you talk about the hospitality industry and restaurants in particular, pre-pandemic, the average restaurant had a 5% profit margin. Post-pandemic, that has been closer to 3%, which is very, very tiny when you're thinking of all the industries. And then with starting on July 1, with the second increase in minimum wage going into effect for 2025 and mandatory paid sick leave going into effect, we expect that profit margin to decrease even more. When California passed their $15 minimum wage a few years ago, some of the statistics that I have from that state as a result of the $15 minimum wage include 98% of restaurants increase their menu pricing. So we should expect increased menu pricing. I think you've already seen some of that come out in 2025. 89% of restaurants reduced their number of employees. And I would expect something similar in our state. And then 74% limited staff pickup, the ability for staff to pick up shifts. They limited overtime and they limited other benefits. So, while one of the big perks in our industry has been like lots of flexibility with schedules and the ability to work overtime, there have been other, there are other perks, cash perks, or other types of benefits that employers are now cutting in order to offset the cost of the new mandatory paid sick leave. So in our business impact survey, we had over 50% of businesses report that they're planning to reduce hours and lay off staff, existing staff. So I think we'll probably see we will definitely see the number of part-time employees being reduced because the mandatory paid sick leave applies to all employees and not just full-time employees. We are expecting 93% of businesses are expecting an increase in labor costs, a significant increase in labor costs, which is 10% or more increase in labor costs. And 65% of businesses are expecting a very significant, so a 15% or more increase in labor costs. Let's see, 24% even reported that they may be facing permanent closure. So one of the things that's incredibly special about our industry is that we're an industry of opportunity. We're one of the most diverse, if not the most diverse industries that exists. When you look at ownership in our industry, it's incredibly diverse. When you look at leadership, and I'm hoping that the increase in labor costs and the decrease in profit margins won't reduce the diversity of ownership in our industry, but that is a possibility, and it's something that we're going to try to be tracking.
Thank you, Sarah. Jeff, now I'll put to you the same question.
Sure.
How do you expect this act to impact hospitality and tourism specifically?
Well, ATIA came out in opposition to this ballot measure when it was on the ballot last November, and primarily we were in opposition to it due to the sick leave component. That is for most of our member businesses, they've got 20 or fewer employees. There's often an office administrator who also answers calls, who takes reservations, who manages payroll, who manages the property. And that person now is going to be tasked with managing sick leave for all their employees as well, too. For a seasonal industry like ours, it's an added complexity that we haven't had for years and years and years, and we're going to have to start managing that for folks. They have the opportunity to use that sick leave over the course of the summer, and that makes it a challenge to staff for those days when they may choose to leave and we don't have a guide to run a boat or operate a tour or something like that. So it's a matter of hiring more staff to cover for folks that may choose to take their sick leave. They could take their sick leave the final week of the season and be gone and be out the door, and when we still have trips booked. And once they leave at the end of the season, it's managing their sick leave throughout the winter, when it's often hard to pin down where these employees are to send their final paycheck to. We're also going to be tracking them now to make sure that we're keeping track of their sick leave should they choose to come back and work for us again the following summer. So it's just an added layer of complexity that we didn't need for small businesses, I think, in the state.
Leave it now, because.
So that's the part we've been tracking most closely. And we think it's going to be impactful for businesses, as Sarah was talking about too, for the minimum wage component. So minimum wage for tourism, I think, is less of an impact as it is for restaurants and bars. Most of our tour operators are paying more than minimum wage right now just to attract applicants for it. But the sick leave component is the part that we're pretty, we've already seen businesses struggle to try and figure out how they're going to manage this. So it's not just a theory anymore. It's actually something that folks are trying to figure out how to manage at this point.
Thank you both for that. Yeah, and I think also it highlights the vast differences within these industries and how these impacts may face one business versus another. So it sounds like there is still a great deal to be determined. And Sarah, if I can come back to you one more time, you said that we are expecting the first information about implementation. Can you one more time just reiterate for us when businesses can expect to get more information about implementation and what you anticipate next steps after that will be?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Steph. We have been in contact with Kathy Munoz from the Commissioner's Office with Department of Labor. We have requested that they host a webinar, because we've received so many questions about implementation of ballot measure 1, and a common question is like, I have an existing PTO policy. Would this qualify if, we just have PTO, we don't have paid sick leave versus paid vacation time? So if somebody uses their PTO to take a vacation, do I still have to give them additional paid sick leave? Questions like that are things that we're receiving a lot of. So the Department of Labor is expecting the first draft of regulations back from the Department of Law this week. And once they receive that, they will put those regulations out for public comment. The mandatory public comment period, minimum public comment period, is 30 days. I don't know whether they're going to be receiving verbal public testimony. I have requested that. Because I know a lot of people aren't necessarily comfortable with putting things in writing, and or they want the flexibility of being able to just speak. And so we're still waiting to hear back on whether they're going to be taking verbal public testimony, but we're also coordinating with them to host one of these webinars where they can provide some information, provide some clarification, and then have an FAQ, not only an FAQ, but a Q&A session. So more to come on that. Once we receive more information, we will certainly pass that on to you.
That's great. Thank you. And one follow-up question to that, is there anything that would be helpful for your CHARR members to be communicating with you or doing right now in anticipation of this next step?
Great question. Yes, we have a lot of people who have voiced concern or questions about implementation. We say implementation, I mean, part of it has already gone into effect, but about July 1, the parts that will go into effect on July 1. If you haven't already signed up for our emails, do that. But more so, if there are things, if you're interested in providing public testimony or public comment, or getting your questions or concerns out there, I highly encourage you to do so. Reach out to our team. We have a new member services manager, Portland Sarantopoulos, who just started. But anybody on our team, you could just email info@alaskacharr.com and we'll get it to the right person. If you're interested in figuring out how to either ask your questions, who to contact, or how to get your public testimony submitted. And we can certainly help with talking points or some of the logistical things.
That's great. Thank you so much. It's great resources for your members. So our next question, Jeff and Sarah, is going to come back to you again. Jeff, you're getting a lot of work this round. Hope you did you stretched out this morning. You were ready to go. What emerging legislative changes are affecting the industry? And Jeff, I'll start with you and give Sarah a little break.
Sure. SB 15 is one that we are tracking. That is the Senate Bill 15 is the one that would allow for 18 to 20-year-olds to take orders for alcohol and deliver alcohol from the bar to tables in restaurants. That is that was up last year. It was, I think, one of the ones that passed just after the midnight deadline on May 15th. And so it was vetoed by the governor, and it's back for reconsideration this session. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, the bill is basically going to alleviate some pressure in the workplace for young people who are under 21 to be able to be part of the service flow pipeline in the dining room, to be able to deliver drinks. And that's been something that to be able to expand the workforce a little bit and expand a hiring opportunity for an employer, I think, is sort of the goal of that. It does come with a number of restrictions the restaurants now need to follow to make sure that alcohol doesn't get into the hands of those underage servers. That's kind of the biggie. There are a couple other smaller ones we're tracking to. HB 61 is a bill that's going to sort of expand opportunity for young people to work more broadly in the workforce. Sort of addresses their hours of when they can work and how long of a day they can work. SB 21 is the Work and Save bill that Senator Wielikowski has proposed. I think Senator Gray Jackson is also a co-sponsor of that too. It's one that would create a sort of a portable savings account for folks who are starting out, who don't have an established 401k opportunity at their employer. So those are a few. Lastly, the big one we're always tracking is tourism marketing funding in the state budget. Every year, ATIA comes to the governor and the state legislature asking for funding to continue to do the marketing that we do to promote the state and bring people up here. We manage Travel Alaska, the statewide destination marketing campaign. We're one of just two states in the country that manage that campaign. Washington is the only other one that sort of outsources its tourism marketing to a nonprofit like we are, like here in Alaska, like we are. So each year we have to go asking for funding to continue to put our foot on the gas pedal to promote Alaska as a destination. So folks will come up here, they'll spend money at our restaurants, at our lodges, at our resorts, on our tours, in our communities. So that's the big ask that we're focused on primarily each legislative session.
Great. And then over to you, Sarah, if you have any others to add.
Yeah, we're tracking those same ones. And so, yeah, SB 15 is the bill that would allow 18 to 20-year-olds to serve or sell alcohol. That's a bill that we actually worked on getting introduced last session. And as Jeff stated, it passed right after, I think, at 12:03. So it was one of the 6 bills vetoed. It has been fast tracked so far this year. It's gone all the way through the Senate. It's now in the House and is sitting in the House. It just needs to go to the House floor and then back to the Senate for concurrence, because there were some amendments in the House. In the House, one of the amendments was that it had a May 1st effective date for the serve and sell portions of the bill, so that so that our industry could utilize that for our busy summer tourism season. And then another portion of the bill that got added in last session, I suppose, and then was just kept in this session, would change the alcohol warning signs that are required to be posted when you enter into an establishment. Currently, there are 3 signs that are required. This new bill would reduce that from 3 to 2, but it would keep a lot of the same language. It would omit current language that's required that says that smoking causes lung cancer, and now replaces that with consuming alcohol may cause cancer. So those signs will be required to be posted, I believe, September 1st. So it has a later effective date, in part because the Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office, where I used to work, is responsible for printing those signs and distributing those signs. And so we wanted to make sure that the big parts of the bill that we were really pushing for to help benefit the industry will be effective sooner for our summer. And then the other portions of the bill, the regulatory agency has time to do the printing and distribution, and the industry has time to post them in order to be compliant. So that is obviously one big thing that we are tracking. We're also tracking HB 61 for young people. Our industry is one, it does talk about young people who work for family members, which is a big thing in our industry. We have a lot of restaurants where you have your kids working for you in positions. And so it provides more flexibility there, as Jeff was talking about. Another piece of legislation that we're tracking is House Bill 25 regarding disposable food serviceware. It would prohibit styrofoam food serviceware and any use of styrofoam, which is actually in a lot of the biodegradable stuff. And it would require restaurants to use either biodegradable or compostable food serviceware. And this legislation has passed, similar legislation has passed in other states, and even large states like California, where it has passed at the local level in a number of places, are seeing significant challenges with that because of lack of infrastructure for things to actually make that food serviceware biodegradable or compostable. It's not like you just throw it in a landfill and suddenly it biodegrades. It has to, the conditions have to be right. The temperature has to be right. There are certain things that need to be done. And our state doesn't have the infrastructure to actually make biodegradable and compostable food serviceware work the way that it needs to be. And it actually requires more energy and water to produce those materials than it does to produce the styrofoam ones. So we have come out in opposition of HB 25. That is also currently in House Labor and Commerce, and they have taken some public testimony. So we're tracking that piece of legislation. One other legislative, our top legislative priority, which doesn't have legislation yet because we are working on getting it right, is regarding dram shop reform. Dram shop is a term for bar rooms, essentially. It's a Prohibition era term. And basically, in short, Alaska is rated the worst state in the country by the Insurance Services Office to sell liquor liability insurance. Our grade is an 8 out of a 10. And basically the ISO has said that in any state that has a grade higher than a 5, don't sell liquor liability insurance there. So what we are experiencing now is a crisis with liquor liability where a number of bars in our state can't even get a policy. There aren't insurance companies that will even write a policy for those bars. And so you have bars not carrying liquor liability because they can't get one. Or we're seeing premiums go up so high, not just for bars, but it's also impacting restaurants and other liquor license establishments, retail stores. Premiums have gone up so much as 1,500% in a single year. To where businesses, you heard me talk about profit margins earlier, slim profit margins, businesses are having to choose to not carry liquor liability. It's not required in our state. And so the problem with that is when there is an incident, when somebody consumes and there's an accident, for example, and people are injured, there's no recourse. There's no recourse for the victims anymore if people aren't carrying liquor liability. So it's not just a business crisis. This is a public health and safety crisis, and we are a strict liability state, maybe the only strict liability state anymore. Now that Alabama, Vermont, and DC have all accomplished dram shop reform in the last 2 years, and so we are working with legislators in both the House and the Senate on making sure that we get language that is the right language that will effectuate change enough to where the ISO will change our rating to a 5 or lower so that we can actually get carriers who will provide insurance in our state. So that is coming down the pike. That is our top legislative priority this year, in addition to SB 15. And so stay tuned on that because that is, we're working a lot on that, and we're very, very concerned about the potential communal impacts if something isn't passed this year.
Wow, thank you so much to both of you for tracking the things and being aware of what is coming down the pike that might affect our industries. Carrie Ann wanted to check in real fast. Do we have any questions that we should jump over to?
Yeah, we just have one that is related to this topic of legislation. It says they'd be interested to hear if there's the immigration rule changes that are coming might be expected to impact staffing in the industry. And that's from Brian Walsh.
Yeah,
Jeff,
I checked
you're
in.
the guy for that.
Sure. Yeah, I checked in with some folks in DC last week about that. And so far, J1s and H2B visas are not under threat at this point. It's worth noting the president himself has H2B visa workers on his property. So we feel the program is safe for now.
Right. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move back to education and training a little bit with BreeAnna and Mary Jo. How can industry professionals, educators, and workforce organizations collaborate more effectively? The age-old question, how can we all work together better? And we'll start with you, Mary Jo.
There we go. Okay, thanks. It is an age-old question. And as I listen, I'm fascinated to sort of listen and think about possibilities for partnerships. And I think this is such a great venue for surfacing and getting into words the issues and the problems and the opportunities. I think collaboration needs to take that next step of actually, and I don't know whether it would be this group that would have like an ad hoc committee where every work occupational field that was presented would have a sort of a spin-off ad hoc committee that was going to translate some of this ideas or problems into action, resolvable action. Because I mean, off the top of my head, there's a lot of things that come to mind for me about what to do. And I think the ad hoc committee might be the way, the how to do it. But in terms of what to do, I think about, to me, launching educational tourism in Alaska is a really untapped opportunity here. I mean, we all know everybody's got Alaska on their bucket list, right? To come here. And I think that as our population ages, you know, that yearning for not just, I want to go to Alaska and see what it's like, but I want to go to Alaska and learn a little bit about what Alaska is about. So that learning educational component that could be connected to tourism and would actually be a draw. I mean, a lot of alumni associations at universities offer travel clubs for their alumni. And, you know, whether it's for university credit or not, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no, but it's a draw for people who don't just want to, maybe don't have the guts to come to Alaska on their own. And it's more than just a tour group, right? That kind of moves you from one location to another. It's actually got, you know, faculty who are talking about, you know, where do the bears go in the winter and why do they hibernate? And, you know, why do the fish do what they do? I mean, those kinds of topics that a tour guide does a great job of addressing, but I think we could deepen that and enrich it. So that's just one opportunity. I also think about internships at a not just at a high school level. That is a great opportunity, but building that ladder of internships and that ladder of experience where maybe at age 15 in high school, they've got an internship in the field, right? In hospitality and tourism. But then in college, they have like it's ratcheted up where there's a little bit more sophisticated internship with now credit associated with it, where there's an expectation of work responsibility. And then, you know, culminating at a graduate level internship. I mean, we have internship possibilities in our graduate degrees. This idea of not just sitting in a classroom and reading a book about how to learn, but workplace experience and getting credit for workplace experience is not only a trend, it's a reality. And I think that systematically creating those opportunities in the field is a really important piece. And the last thing I would mention is this idea of the underrepresented or underserved populations, incarcerated, immigrant populations. I mean, that happens to be the work that I've done for decades, but I think it seems to me in Alaska, and maybe this is a national thing, but we tend to think of workers and then people who go to school as though they're separate pots of people. You either go for a college degree or you go for a job, right? And I think the reality is it's not that you have to separate those two pots of people. I think opening up educational opportunities for people who would not even think they could finish high school, let alone get a college degree. I mean, this is what college is about now. Yeah, we have a 3.0 grade point average, but we don't ever pay attention to it, right? We admit students all the time provisionally who have below that grade point average. So my point is the door is open wider than it's ever been opened. And I think that is an opportunity for collaboration with the industry in a way that it's just never happened before. And so I think, if anybody's interested in an ad hoc group to really burrow in and get some action items in on the table and underway, sign me up.
I'll join you. I was ready to vote for you for mayor, actually. All right, BreeAnna, we're going to put that to you as well.
I'm sold too. Sign me up as well. I'll be there for sure. Let me know when and where. I just kind of want to echo, thank you, Steph. Sorry. It's all about industry connection. And that's what we do at CHARR, truly, is connect youth specifically with industry. And I'll repeat the Pro Start program as much as I possibly can because it's just amazing. But going into kind of that, internship, apprenticeship kind of aspect, not college isn't for everybody, and that's okay. I did college, whatever. But I also have that work experience, and we have these apprenticeships that are the earn while you learn. And I think that's something that hasn't really been thought about is, hospitality and apprenticeships, that's odd. But we have, so many of them now. We have line cook, restaurant manager, and kitchen manager, and we have hotel and lodging apprenticeships as well. But then staying connected, at the end of the day, it's staying connected with the State Restaurant Association and the programming and the networking and the partnerships that we do have. So signing up for any kind of communications as far as like our newsletter that Kirsten kind of distributes, I think bi-weekly, and then we have our quarterly magazine as well, and constant communications that are going out about our training programs. So through the State Training and Employment Program grant, we've actually been able to give free training to over 1,000 different industry workers within the state. And amongst them, we've been able to travel a lot of them from bush communities to Anchorage to get those ANSI certified training. And we've been able to, put them back into their communities with knowledge and a skilled certificate underneath them and, make their communities better. So the communications that we have at CHARR is crucial for making sure that that knowledge is out into our community across our entire state to make sure that we have a more skilled and knowledgeable workforce. And then, at the end of the day, I think I just have like staying connected with Alaska CHARR and all of the things that we can offer with our community, but also with potential workforce as well.
Thank you both so much. Yeah, work experience and work education. It's a really interesting thing to consider. There are things that we can't teach in a classroom, and there are things that we can't educate online at Friday night at 5 p.m. So we definitely need each other. And I think the more we can speak to each other and work together, the more we can impact things.
I'm going to jump in here because this question speaks my language. So this is Carrie Ann. I'm with the Alaska Safety Alliance and now the Alaska Workforce Alliance. And this question is really about who we are as an organization. We are a workforce development organization. We work across all industries. And I'm super excited to announce we've been working on a workforce development plan, a cross-industry plan for the entire state of Alaska in collaboration with the Department of Labor, with some funding from the Denali Commission. And just yesterday, we finalized that report and it is up on our website. I put the link to that webpage in the chat. And really what we're talking about in that plan is exactly what both of our presenters said before me, which is this collaboration, this place where we can all gather information. And I want to say specifically to this group that the BEC organization, the Business Education Compact, is mentioned in that plan is this convener or this ad hoc committee where industry and education comes together. So we really want to take advantage of that in future meetings and make this group really robust to be able to contribute to and be part of the implementation of that plan, which is underway. And we do have additional funding from the Denali Commission to keep moving forward with some of those strategies in that plan. So if you haven't heard of it, you will, and the link is in the chat, and a press release will be going out from the Department of Labor and from the Alaska Safety Alliance today.
Thank you, Carrie-Ann. Our next question is for Kirsten. We have upcoming, we have CHARR's hosting the 2025 SHE Strength, Heart, and Excellence Leadership Training Conference. It's going to be on March 23rd and 24th. And I was hoping that you could just speak a little to what the SHE conference is about and what people can expect to learn when they go there.
Sure. Thank you, Steph, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about this event. So yes, we are proud to host the 2025 SHE Strength, Heart, Excellence Leadership Training Conference. We did discuss yesterday about postponing it to mid-May. I don't have the exact dates yet to better accommodate the industry's needs and avoid event overload this spring. But the annual event is dedicated to empowering, educating, and elevating professionals in the hospitality and tourism industries. This year's theme is Empower, Educate, Elevate, leading with authenticity, balance, and inclusion. And this reflects our commitment to fostering personal and professional growth through impactful conversations, leadership development, and meaningful connections. It provides attendees with tools, knowledge, and inspiration to grow as leaders, help their teams work more cohesively, and create better workplace cultures. Through impactful keynote speakers and engaging workshops and panels and networking opportunities. This event focuses on fostering personal and professional development. Attendees, when they come, can expect insightful discussions on leadership, resilience, and innovation, with a special emphasis on uplifting all of the industry professionals in both tourism and hospitality to reach new heights in their careers. So it's whether you're a seasoned leader or emerging in your field, the 2025 SHE offers valuable takeaways to help you thrive. So, and I will have updates on our website and communications going out about the new date.
All right. Thank you so much. And it's such a great conference to go to. We don't, especially in the restaurant end of the hospitality sector, people don't often have as much opportunity to get together and to network and to have leadership conferences like that. So it's been a great thing and a great addition to the Alaska scene. Carrie-Ann, I'm just going to check in with you real fast. We're a little bit over schedule. And so I wanted to find out from you if we have any audience Q&A or if we can jump into our last question.
We don't have another question at this time, so go ahead and jump right in.
All right, so for our final question is just to go to each panel member and ask a takeaway message that you'd want to leave all of our listeners with today. And we will start with you, Mary Jo.
Sorry, I was having trouble with my mute button. And I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I was actually taken by what Carrie-Ann had sent out. I was reading some of what you just sent out, Carrie-Ann. Forgive me. Could you repeat the question?
Okay. It was just your final takeaway message that you want to leave all of our listeners with today.
Oh my gosh, final takeaway message. I don't know.
Aside from your campaign run.
Yeah, I'm just so impressed. What did you say? My campaign? I'm so impressed with everyone who attends the BEC. I mean, I just think the sort of there's a beating heart that I feel when I come to these meetings of people who are so committed and dedicated. And I think with respect to this whole field of hospitality and tourism, I just can't think of a more vibrant industry for us to pay attention to and really pour energy into. And I just pledge all kinds of energy and passion towards that end. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Next up, we'll go to Sarah. Any takeaways from you for today that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Working on the unmute button. That's the theme of today. I just want to say that the hospitality industry is really an industry of opportunity. And like, how many other industries can you come in with no experience and no skills and gain skills and experience that you can use in any career? The skills that you learn in this industry will make you successful in any career. They're demanded by 100% of industries. The soft skills, team building and teamwork, customer service, time management, those are things that 100% of employers of industries demand. And you learn those with coming into an industry with no experience. You can make great money. There's so much opportunity here. I am one of those people who does not have a degree. I've gone to a couple of different universities and went through a very traumatic life event that caused me to drop out of school. I'm back in taking classes one at a time every once in a while right now, but this industry has provided me with opportunity that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else, and I'm incredibly proud of this industry, not only for the opportunity, but because it is the heart of our community. It's where people go to celebrate. It's where people go to grieve. We are here for our communities always, always have been, always will be. And I'm very excited about the workforce development efforts that the Alaska CHARR Enterprise, our foundations, have been working on over the last 6 years. So thank you for this opportunity today.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, we'll go to Kirsten.
I just want to say I really appreciated being a part of this. This is my first BEC meeting, and this has been a lot of fun, and I feel like I need to attend more of these and, learn about other industries too. But I mean, as far as the hospitality industry goes, I mean, I think that everybody should take some time and peruse around on the Alaska CHARR website and find out, that we do more than just tap cards. We do more than just serve safe training. We have numerous training opportunities through our educational fund, as Bree has said, for adults, and, programs designed for individuals reentering the workforce, veterans, and then those seeking new career paths. So, just when you see an email come from CHARR, don't ignore it. Open it up and read it, because we have a lot to offer to both the hospitality and tourism industries and other people that want to get involved.
Thank you, Kirsten. Jeff, we'll take it over to you.
Great. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning to talk about the tourism industry. I just want to emphasize we are a huge part of the economy of the state. $5.6 billion in total economic output and $3.9 billion in direct spending on the ground in Alaska each year. So we're huge. We're right up there with fishing and mining. Not quite up there with oil, but we're definitely one of the three pillars just below oil, or down below a little further than oil. But the quick anecdote I have for you is that I came to Alaska when I was 22 years old. Thought I was going to work for one summer season, and ended up, moving my way up into the kitchen, being a cook, going outside, being a raft guide, being a boathouse manager, being a lodge manager, and now I work for the State Tourism Association. And I think that this is very much an entry-level job that can lead to a career or a life in Alaska for a lot of folks. And so I want to drive that point home, and as you're talking to students in schools and students in college, let them know that this doesn't have to just be a seasonal thing they can do to make some money and make some friends. This is something they could turn into a lifetime if they want. So thank you very much again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jeff. And last up, we've got BreeAnna.
Thank you so much. This was a great experience. I was on 2 previous BEC calls before, and just kind of like listened to them while I was drinking my morning coffee, much like I'm doing today. But I really appreciate the opportunity to be on this and for our team to be here representing the hospitality industry, because like every single speaker has said so far, it's an opportunity, and there is an infinite number of avenues of success and opportunity within the hospitality industry. And you can start in it when you're 16 years old and then find your way back to it, you know, when you later on in your career road, or you end up there or whatever it is. But people got to eat and people got to sleep. So the hospitality industry is always going to be here. I mean, but we need those skilled workforce and those that skilled workforce to run it. And that's what we're here at CHARR to do, and just make sure that people know that the hospitality industry is somewhere anybody can go and you can be successful in the end.
Thank you, BreeAnna. Yeah, and I'd just like to echo a lot of what all of our panelists have just said, and that one of the things I think really stands out to me about both tourism and hospitality is that these are somewhat canary in the coal mine industries of the health of the place that they live. If the state is not taken care of, if the ecosystems are damaged, if people are not safe and healthy, you don't want to come and visit us. And like Sarah said, in the restaurant industry, we're there for people to celebrate their first date and to sign their divorce papers if it comes to that, or to celebrate their grandchild graduating. And we do that with care and love from the background to try to create these environments for people. And if we see decreases in either one of these industries, I think that it should be taken seriously as a bigger matter of what is happening in the ecosystem that those businesses live in. We don't have to be here. So we are somewhat of an expendable purchase for a lot of people, but it is a good indicator of how people feel about both the communities that they live in and the state that they want to represent to outside visitors. So I think we should take our industries very seriously as a good marker of the health of the state that we live in. And I'll give it back over to Carrie Ann.
Well, thank you very much, Steph, and for the whole team that presented today. I want to open it up to the BEC. We do have a couple of minutes remaining on the schedule. If there are any questions that folks wanted to ask to the panelists before we adjourn for the day. And I'll wait for people to either raise their hand or put it in the chat. Just some comments that came across in the chat. Carol shared the upcoming cultural tourism conference, which is coming up in Fairbanks. We'll include that link in our post-meeting email to everybody. Also, Sheena has shared with us that registered apprenticeship in Alaska, a link to find out more information from the state of Alaska. And then National Apprenticeship Day coming up April 25th. So she has also shared her email that was in the chat, but we will include that in our post-meeting email. If there's any other comments, anybody just want to unmute and pipe in? If not, we might give you about 6 minutes of your day left. Back to you. Well, I just want to say again, what a wonderful conversation. And thank you very much for this opportunity to share about what Alaska Workforce Alliance is doing in this realm. We want to be able to help all industries. And this has been a fascinating discussion. Really, thank you very much. I know all of our speakers took the time to be very prepared for this discussion today and shared a lot of great information. Thank you all very much. Have a great month, and we'll talk to you again in April. Take care.